My joy is to be with kids. And if I think administrators need to make time for things like this, because being with kids and doing things that, you know, are important to bring things to kids, those opportunities, that's where the joy is. I am Sheila Krotz. I'm the principal at Portola. I have been here 3 years. After I relocated from San Diego, I found an opportunity to come into the San Bruno community to be the principal. This is a K-5 school. When I arrived at Portola, I saw that the school had suffered some neglect from a infrastructure point of view, but I also saw a lot of opportunity for improvement. I look at things through a different lens. Whenever I arrive at a school, and I've been at several different schools over the course of a 30-year career, is I just look at things through a different lens. I consider myself to be an expert noticer. That actually is a thing. There's a lot of research done on people who have this innate ability to notice things. So whether I'm walking into a classroom and noticing what's going on in the classroom, or walking around a building and looking at facilities, I just notice things, and I always am looking at ways to make things better. I think it's, part of that is just innate, how I was raised, trying to improve things, make them better. And arriving at Portola, seeing that there had been, some things that had so much potential. We have a massive outdoor space, and it was severely underutilized. There was nothing really used as far as the green space or several of the different areas around the school. There was a huge flower box, a massive flower box in front of the school. I would say it was probably 10 by 10 foot, and it was crumbling and falling apart and had really been neglected. And as somebody who's looking at my school and thinking about curb appeal, I saw that as kind of an eyesore. So that was one of my first mini projects. But just as far as the mindset, I liken it to what I call the Greta effect, with Greta Thunberg, who certainly looked at climate change through a different lens, even though we've known about climate change way back to the days of when Al Gore started talking to us about it. And then, but I always admired Greta, being able to come out and really having a voice, because she looks at things different. And that's kind of how I operate. And seeing, what can I do to improve the situation I'm in. Make sure that you involve the students, because you don't want to come across that this is my idea, and this is what we're going to do. I think it is really important to, especially, in a K-5 school with the young learners who may not have had a lot of exposure to, thinking outside of the box and different ideas. And so one of the first things that I noticed when I came to Portola is that they had a lot of waste in the lunch program, mainly due to the spork packet, the infamous spork packet, which is a solid, just a package of waste, basically. Nothing in the package is recyclable. And so I saw that as something that would be a pretty good launch for a zero waste effort in our school. And again, because nobody really knew me, I came from outside the district. I didn't really have a reputation. And I know that you have to really take baby steps when you come into a community that is fairly stabilized, as far as there's not a lot of population movement. And so people didn't know me. I wanted to take it slow. So I just surveyed for a group of students, 2 from each grade level, K through 5, who would be interested in helping with an environmental program. and led them to zero waste, really getting them to think about, this sport packet, knew it was something tangible. Everybody used them, thinking about what that meant to the environment. The great thing about kids today are growing up in a fairly environmentally conscious world, but they may not know what to do to help change that problem. And so, first beginning to partner with Recology. So Recology came out and did a waste analysis with a group of kids. So I called this group environmental engineers. And so we started meeting, at lunchtime, like all school groups, and just taking them through like the steps of developing, like, so what is identifying what the problem is. I'm a scientist by degree, so it's really important for kids to think like scientists, identify what the problem is, what are we going to do about it, where's the starting point. And so Recology helped us. They would come out and weigh the waste. We separated out, so the kids separated out the sports, and we weighed it every month to see how much waste there was. And it was really great because they had a visual that they could work with. And so then starting to work on that zero waste effort, and that is when I became involved with the Environmental Learning Collaborative. And I had just read about it. And again, because of the way I think, and I think I'm really going to need some partners in this work that I want to do, because in San Bruno, unfortunately, we've had a very high turnover at the district office level. We've had 3 superintendents in 3 years. So in seeing that taking place as well, I knew that I needed to get a solid partner. So I was really very fortunate that Andrea accepted me into the fellowship program, because it really changed the way that I was able to do the work with the support through that program. And so she started working with me as well as with Recology. And that was our focus initially, is the zero waste effort. And just really doing a big campaign school-wide, getting, the kids to do presentations to PTA. And, whenever there was an event at school, really being visible presence as far as, the amount of trash that we were producing. And so I think the other important aspect when you are somebody who looks at things through a different lens is to identify who are your other visionaries, because I think it's really important to acknowledge that most people don't like change. And coming into a school where, again, you're kind of an unknown entity, and then you have all these ideas, because that's just how my brain works, is try to identify who else could go along with you on your journey. And I was really fortunate that I identified that person fairly quickly, Miss Christy Postal, who is our library media aide, and she's been on the journey with me ever since. So we are not back full day yet. That's one reason that I've kind of put this on hold as far as like the waste part of it, because kids are only on campus 2 hours a day, and we are not allowing them to bring in any food or snacks, or so none of that waste that was a big part of our project to get rid of, single serving packets and things like that. So that will be addressed again in the fall. The adding in also composting when the school food program gets up and running again in the fall, because now that we've built out some of the outdoor garden spaces and have the capability to have composting, so that's something that we didn't have before that we'll be adding in. We still have some infrastructure problems to fix. We had a water main break right under where the garden beds are. So now we're looking at trying to find funding to get that fixed, because this is, something else that I've learned on my journey is just because it's a priority for me doesn't mean it's a priority for anybody else. So you have to, just keep plugging away. I'm used to big projects like this. Every school I've been at, I've had a big project of some kind. So you just have to learn that You're always going to have naysayers. You're always going to have people that, don't buy in, but that's okay. You just keep going because in the end, it's good for kids. At the end of the day, that's the question you ask yourself is, why are you doing this? And it's good for kids. I'm so thankful for the fellowship opportunity because I had access to resources I could have never afforded to have these plans drawn up and somebody come out and do this level of analysis that was done here. And just in saying that, also taking those plans and I had them enlarged, so that whenever I am looking for funding or trying to approach a community partner, I have these beautiful plans that, I can show them. So it's not just some pie in the sky dream. Somebody's really put some thought and care into developing these plans. So again, I'm really fortunate that that came about because of the fellowship program. At Portola, kindness is the theme for our school, and it's something that's very important to me. And so using restorative practices when dealing with student discipline issues, teaching kids how to breathe, to calm themselves down. I had started all of that work when I first came here and was in the classrooms, and the kids know it. And, they're so impressionable at this age, and getting little kids to come and meditate before school is pretty awe-inspiring. And so really thinking about taking that restorative practice and Zen mindfulness outside to our outdoor spaces. I had written that into my long-term plan, is to incorporate more of that as a peaceful place to practice mindfulness, as well as giving a nod to the Ohlone, whose sacred ground the school is built on, and developing an Ohlone cultural center here at Portola. Sweeney Ridge is right behind the school, and the school hikes up there every year. It's a big part of our culture here. Once a year, we hike up to the top of Sweeney Ridge, and really thinking about taking that to the next step, and honoring the Ohlone who, whose land is where we are right now. So that's kind of my next steps. Well, I would certainly start with, reaching out and becoming involved in the fellowship program with the collaborative. I think I know, I don't have to think about it. I know that I could not be where I'm at with the level of work we've accomplished here without Andra and her team. Andra is really just such a visionary, and she's an out of the box thinker, and she never said, "You're crazy, Sheila." That's not going to work. She always found a way to make it happen for me, and I'll be forever indebted to her, as I know the Portola community will be. I think identifying who are your dreamers, who are the people that think outside of the box and are innovative, whether it be a student who is really into science and may be seen as somebody quirky, but those are really the kids that I love the way their brains think. Parents and other community members and community stakeholders. I think it's just really important to acknowledge that not everybody is going to buy into your dream. I learned that a really long time ago, and that was such a hard thing for me to accept. But once you get to that point, I think then it makes the journey easier, that you're just going to have to leave those people aside and you're going to have to move forward, because at the end of the day, it's good for kids.